Hi, everybody. Welcome to Creation Station Weekly. I'm Bob from Creation Station, and this is our weekly show where we talk about a couple of cool tech stories in the news, show you something fun from the library, and get you wrapped up here really quick this week. And so this week, today for Creation Station Weekly, we actually have Chris Williams, head of Library's Information Technology section for us. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you.
How have you been today?
Doing pretty well.
I got a feeling with these couple stories that have been big in the news, we're going to hear some good stuff out of you for these things here. I'm going to just go right ahead and share my browser to talk about this first story here. This is probably the biggest story of 2021. I'm going to be guessing here. If it wasn't for this little plague that we happen to be having, I think this would be the number one story in 2022. It might even top the elections. So Homeland Security and a lot of different federal agencies and state agencies and private companies were all hacked by apparently the Russians over the course of this last whole summer. It started last May, going all the way through. And Chris, you know a lot more detail about this kind of thing than I do from my just reading. Can you tell us just a real brief how something like this could have happened and what could have done to avoid it?
Really, how this all started was what's called a supply chain attack on SolarWinds, the company SolarWinds, where their update server, which is how they send out updates to all of their customers that purchase their software, was hacked. In theory, so far it hasn't been proven yet. Their password was a very weak password, SolarWinds123, and
Oh man. See, and
and
libraries would never let you get away with that.
absolutely not. And it hasn't been proven yet, but most likely that is how the hacker got into their server and started sending out the Trojanized updates. The biggest thing that could really help a situation like this is multi-factor authentication.
Which is
Which
exactly what libraries does with Duo. The whole county, everybody's got that. And in fact, the county just updated Duo just 2 weeks ago, was it? I think we
yes, it
did,
was.
where we went to go change so that you now have to answer that phone and use the proper digit as you're going to answer. I'm not going to say that out loud here. Um, but yeah, no, it just seems like this thing seemed to happen because people didn't follow just basic security stuff that all of us in libraries have been doing all along. And it just seems so weird that this allowed everybody to get in. And I know we don't know exactly who it was. It's all everybody's batting around the word the Russians, but we know it was at least some huge state actor from all the stuff that I've seen about what was going on with it. Yeah, it was just something like this is crazy.
It absolutely is, and so far who they're thinking it is an organization called Cozy Bear, which does lead back to Russian intelligence. So that is exactly who they're thinking it is at this point.
Yeah, it's just, and so something like this hits everybody, and it hit not only the big federal agencies, it hit a lot of state, county, it hit a lot of private companies and everything like that. So I know this is one of those things where ETS is always sending us out those emails and those quizzes. So pay attention and do that. And if you're at home listening to us here, make sure that your security and your passwords are updated. We don't need any 123 passwords, please. Don't make that happen there for us. Um,
Absolutely, we don't even let that happen.
Yeah, I'm just crazy, just craziness on that. One of the other things that happened this week that I thought was really interesting was the updated lawsuit against Google. And I know I'm always teasing that Google is really just an ad company that runs some email servers. However, this is really going after Google for their ad business. And I really do think that this is one of those things where we're going to be looking at how the world changes. Last week's show or the week before, we talked about how Facebook and the FTC was going after them for that. And one of the things, well, first, let me get your thoughts on this one first, Chris. What do you think about this? How this is going to affect what really goes on, knowing this is a years and years long process?
Yes, it absolutely will be. And I think at the end of the day, when this is all said and done, the end users won't really experience any real effect from this. Some internet publishers that create websites may, but the actual end user won't experience any ill effects because the ad companies are still going to be owned by someone and they're still going to be producing ads. We're still going to have marketing on the sides of our screens, just like that's on the side of your screen right now.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and that's actually one of the things where part of this, as I was digging into this morning, reading about the update, they actually included Facebook as part of this lawsuit, even though somehow they avoided getting mentioned in all the headlines of being sued, as part of collusion on ad revenue and ad placement and all those things, saying that the two big companies, the two biggest ad companies, are going against working with each other to seal out other people from being able to do ads. And it's like, well, there you go. That's an abuse of power. That's the monopolistic thing right there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because it's hard to say. I mean, where do we go, or what do you think is the idea of how do you define when one of these companies is just too big to be regulated almost?
I don't know how I would define it, and right now I don't think there is a clear definition of it. Big tech is really these companies, as we know, as social media or Google as a search engine. They are those functions secondary to marketing.
Yeah.
Information is really their business, and they are selling it and using it to market. That's what these companies are for, and I don't think there is a clear definition on how they can monopolize the industry yet.
Yeah. And of course, we're talking right now just the United States, but there's also lawsuits in Europe, and there's a whole GDPR for privacy information. If you don't know what that is, go do a DuckDuckGo on that one. Don't use Google. Use DuckDuckGo as your search engine, folks. It's a lot safer for you, a little bit more private for you. But go look at some of these privacy settings and issues like this. I know that one of the issues that came up for Facebook was that their growth in India, for example, is still in double digits. They have a bigger audience in India now than the entire population of the United States. So some of these companies are just so huge that I really wonder where, as we're teaching customers how to use these sites and how to do these things, how to really prepare themselves for all these upcoming things. You were around in computers back when Microsoft was going through this, right, Chris?
Yes, but not near as much as I am now.
Yeah, we were in libraries with the Gates grants way back when, and it was an interesting time to have that ruling come down and see exactly where things came out in the end of all of it. Yeah, and this is again decades long thing, right? I mean, there's no way this gets solved in any one political administration or anything like that. It took Microsoft.
Yeah, there's going to be many years that get really attached to this. What to be selling these different companies that Google owns. So for that to happen, they're going to have to go through many years of back and forth.
Yeah. The one thing that I did hear one of the commentators talk about was that all these lawsuits will slow down the rate of acquisitions for them. So it might actually let some of the smaller companies grow a little bit more as these big companies now have to spend so much time on lawyers and knowing that the microscope's on them, of not acquiring the small little companies anymore like they have been up to now. But all is not doom and gloom. There is still some fun stuff out there. I want to show you guys this really cool little bit that Google has put out. It's called the Blob. It's the AI Blob Opera. Now, I'm not going to play this for you. It gets pretty addictive. It gets really cool. This came out of the old Google Experiments section. If you are used to use Google for those sorts of things, there's a really fun thing. I'm going to bring up what it would look like right here. Blob Opera. You pick your 4 players, and each of them is assigned a voice. And by launching this and letting them run, you can have them. I'm going to play it without any sound for you, so that you can just get a chance to go see what this looks like. And I get to change that. You can see where his voice range is going. And now here, I can grow him back. And you can go ahead and play with this all day long, and you can have a lot of fun with this sort of thing, playing around and messing. It's just something we're all going to have a few extra days at home, and we're all going to have some people with family put this in front of the kids and let them play for a few minutes. And I think that they'll get a chance to explore and do that. Did you ever do any of the old experiment stuff that was there inside of Google before, Chris?
I've done a few, especially when they were starting with some of their augmented reality items. I do have a older Google phone, and that's where they started releasing some of their
Nice.
augmented reality things on this phone. So I got to play around with some of that.
Yeah, in fact, our very first episode we did of the show, we talked about the virtual ARLIC that we did with the augmented reality we did with that. To wrap up today, our one cool thing about libraries, I figured we're going to go to, Broward.org/library. And if you go to the research section, we've got a whole government section. You can come on in here. You can find out all about all the different things. Get it right directly from them. Congress.gov, data.gov. You can go in and get the federal depository stuff directly. Don't need to do a search out there on Google or even on DuckDuckGo. Go out there and come right to the library, find the facts directly for yourself and not have to worry about that. Thank you very much, Chris, for joining in on us. Tell us about what you do for the library real quick here so people know the voice behind the face here now.
Yeah, my role here at the library is basically anything and everything technology, both internal, what we provide the staff to use to check in and out people and also do all of our background work. But my team also maintains all of the public computers and printers and that entire infrastructure, along with the new mobile app, and pretty soon, starting this upcoming Monday, with our new calendar and room reservation software.
And I know we have almost as many computers just in libraries as the entire rest of the county does, don't we?
Yeah, we have close to a little bit under 4,000 computers. I want to say around 3,800 computers just for the libraries alone.
Yeah. It's an insane amount. Nobody thinks about all the background stuff that has to be done just to keep people like me up and running and working so I can go and do these sorts of things. So thank you very much for having and doing that with us, sir.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much, Chris, for being here today. Again, everybody, Creation Station Weekly, you can, any ideas, hints, things you'd like to see, or if there's somebody out there in the library staff that you'd like to be out here as a guest host, send them our way, creationstation@broward.org. Everybody have a great weekend.